So this is the weekly outlook for May 4th until the May 8th. And let's have a look at what we will see. So first things first, as I always like to do, is to check the Forex Factory calendar. And you can see here, the main red folder news for USD will be on Tuesday, which will be the less impact news events compared to Friday. So every first Friday of a month, we have your NFP, and that is your high impact news event. So Friday will be a big candle, most likely. And I would expect things to formulate towards the end of the week, right? So I expect the high or low of the week to happen on Thursday or Friday. Okay. Now, if I go back to look at what the candles are telling me, so we are going to start off with indices. And I'm just going to go through the rest of the weekly outlook without my face cam for today. And yeah, let's see what we can find. So if I have a look at the price, and if we look at indices to start off now, let's bring out a couple factors here. Now, if I look at the daily time frame and have a look at NASDAQ, you could see we had the last week open up, create your low between Wednesday and Thursday, and we expanded higher for the rest of that week. Now, we can see that price is at a very high level, right? It is at all-time highs. If you bring out this indicator and look on the right hand side, you can see monthly candle, the monthly candle of the previous. You can see that the monthly candle of April was the biggest candle we've had ever on in this season, I think, in a very long time. So I do expect May to be higher, but I don't expect it to close bullish, at least not for now. We don't usually see price expand for that much for that long, especially in indices. Okay, now if I have a look here, you can see that the low of the week was formulated between Wednesday and Thursday between the two assets, with YM creating your SMT for Thursday, right? So we had that one stage and we pushed higher. And now you can see on Friday, once we took out this previous week's high, this level, we are very close to all-time highs on the YM, which I do expect us to take out really. But what it doesn't look like with this closure, it doesn't look like. So we already have on Friday, we formulated a PSP after a key level was swept, which was Tuesday's high of April 22nd. Of course, ES is also at all-time highs, and we've created our first cracking correlation, which is a PSP. One candle is closing bearish, and the others are closing bullish. So in that case, I want to see if we can get the continuation lower. Now, in order to get a two-stage, right, we can see that these candles are closing bearish back inside the candle's range. So I would expect NASDAQ to maybe possibly take out the previous day's high. If we already go on the lower time frame, and if you have a look, you already see on the lower time frame there is already significant cracks in correlation, where this candle in the AM session of Friday, ES closed bearish, so as YM after sweeping out the highs, while ANQ closed bullish. So we also have a one-stage PSP that formulated on Friday. And for Friday's session, you could have traded lower into PM for Friday as to close the end of the week, right? The same thing went for the lower time frame here. You can see that's when we formulated your SMT up here within these highs, and then price pushed lower. So we've created already cracks in correlation on Friday, and I'm looking for Monday to continuate towards the lows. Now let's say that NASDAQ does take out the previous Friday's high and now creates a two-stage SMT. The first targets are obviously going to be this daily fair value gap as my first key level to get tapped. You can also see ES has made a way bigger candle, however, closing bearish on this. So this is a sign of strength switching already, right? The strongest asset has momentarily swapped to the weaker asset. So this PSP is very, very strong, like I mentioned. This PSP should allow price to trade lower into this fair value gap, and that's probably when NQ will make a two-stage at the highs. Now, once a two-stage occurs at the highs, that is probably when I'm going to look for a trade to go lower. And this time, I want to go lower and take out 27,000 on Nasdaq futures, which is this Friday, 24th April's low. So I want us to take out this level once we flip bearish, hopefully this week, in my opinion. Now let's head into Forex. Now, if we have a look at Forex, it's very interesting. It's again, I had the same concept as we went into last week, since we had our high impact news event on Thursday. You can see Thursday made the low of the week after we swept out this low, and it also made an SMT on the day, right? So if you were to trade, you can trade London session with that SMT low, and you can trade back into the range and take out these highs. So clean trade for Thursday and Friday continuations. Now you could see price after it took out that draw and that low. You could see now price has swept out these highs, right? So we have a higher time frame SMT at these highs in April 17. That's your SMT up there. And with GU SMT up here. Now both candles close bearish. You can also say that is an SMT then, therefore with DXY, right? This Friday 17th was swept. Now it's interesting because if this is now the signature for us to continue our push lower, like if this is the high that is already taken out with the previous month, right? I would now and then expect that price now push lower and take out my initial drawn liquidity, which is below 1.14. Okay, so that's what I'm going to be watching out for once we head into the next week. You can also see between the two weekly candles, this was a bearish, so this was a PSP. Along that, we didn't take out the previous week high, which creates an SMT. It was also very clean buys because we went from the weekly fair value gap towards the highs, right? We just created an SMT, and the sign is now is whether this SMT will hold. We have a nice clean expansion away from those highs. This is a V-shaped reversal. So from these 4-hour fair value gaps, that's where you want to see your cracks in correlation, your confirmation, to then trade lower, to then take out previous week's low, and then initially this drawn liquidity. And those are my initial closest targets that I would go for. Okay, so let's stay focused and watch for bearish opportunities there. The next thing that I will be looking into is crypto. Now, for me, my bias hasn't changed on crypto. I'm already shorts on it, but the problem is it's already traded very high. So my only worry is that we take out the previous monthly's high right here. We take it out on Bitcoin, but not on ETH, and we create a monthly SMT between the 2 months. And then we still have the same concept, sell in May and go away, where we're selling from this bearish monthly fair value gap. You can see there's some key levels at around 82K, 81K. So if price does push higher, it's still another opportunity to short lower, and we take out these lows at 59,800. The bias will not change for me for Q2 and Q3 of this year. I wanted to go bearish and short. You can also see for the monthly candle, we just opened with no wick. So trading higher at the beginning of the month is what I'd like to see, right? Like I mentioned, these highs maybe won't hold, if I'm honest. So we'll probably sweep it one more time and then look for sells again. Now I enter shorts with that thought in mind that those highs will hold because I had a 2-stage in a V-shaped reversal. So rather than adding to my position and I don't know where to put my stop loss, I'll wait to get, stopped out and then look for another trade again and then target below 60K because my RR will still be super good when I find the next short opportunity. You know, some people, if you are in shorts with low risk, then I would just move your stop loss and get ready to add once you're above 80K. But ideally, we really don't take it up because this should, in theory, hold. This should, in theory, hold. And last but not least, we have our silver and metals market. And for me, it's very interesting because I am still somewhat bearish. Okay, so we mentioned already we had these SMTs at the highs with euro. You could see there was an SMT here and we've pushed lower since then. Now, if I look on the daily time frame, you could see price within this daily fair value gap. If you remember the video I mentioned, we have now here an SMT within the gap, and that's so far a one stage, right? But it's a two stage because this candle closed bullish. So this candle's a two stage, and we've set the reversal on gold for Friday. So Monday should trade lower and we take out previous week's low, which should happen relatively quickly. So I want to see below 4,500 as my plan. If we check out other you can see when we've set in this SMT, you can see within intraday of that day, when we set up the SMT, we have a two-stage SMT, right? The stronger asset being gold, the stronger asset is flipping to the weaker asset intraday, right? So since we already have this two-stage up here into that high, we still have yet to displace. Actually, we have displaced, but it's already been a filled gap. So since we don't have anywhere to displace from, rather this 1 hour gap, maybe if we displace from there from Monday, we can look for shorts. But if there's nowhere else to displace from, I would expect price to then take out the high and then go lower. But it shouldn't, because this candle closes bearish back inside the range, and it is a bearish candle while the others are bullish. So it's already a two-stage daily in the gap. So we should still be good for shorts from there to target this low. So that is the plan that I have on gold, right? If you look on the lower time frame again, maybe these 30-minute gaps could push price low, but it should just go lower right away because price has already closed into that gap right before market closed. So that's what I want to see. I want to see price expand lower pretty early, and then I can get London and New York to continue lower to my move. And I would expect this move to happen, I guess, in 2 days or 3 days if we have no news in the early set of the week. Okay, if you enjoyed that weekly analysis, drop a like. You can also catch the trades that I take via the weekly analysis in Mindvest in the Trade Ideas Discord section. So I pretty much trade. I share the trades that I take following my weekly analysis. So now that I've set the plan for the week, I know how to execute with a clear mind, and I make sure to share it to all the members so they can all win with me.